Hey, what's going on, guys? Elliot here with Movie Files, here to give you guys my thoughts and opinions on the 100th episode. That is crazy. We've been 8 seasons in on The Walking Dead, and we got our 100th episode last night. So I want to give you guys my thoughts on that. But before we do so, just want to kind of get you guys up to speed as far as my experience with Walking Dead and where I am as a fan. So with that being said, I've been a pretty strong fan, and by that I mean like watching it every Sunday, watching The Talking Dead, watching some of you guys' reviews on YouTube here. So I'm a pretty big fan of The Walking Dead. And with that still being said, me being a big fan, I really do have favorite characters, the Ricks, the Daryls, the Carols, things like that. I'm a really big fan of, Glenn. Unfortunately, we lost Glenn, but he's one of my favorite characters, and Maggie, of course. So I can appreciate the things that they offer us, but at the same time, I can also point out the faults of the show, and that's really what I want to bring to you guys when it comes to my reviews. It's just my honest opinion. Even though I'm a big fan, there are some things that can be done better. But before we get into season 8, I just want to kind of get you guys. I want to kind of give you guys my opinions on last year's season, which season 7 had its really high moments. Some of the best moments of the show was tie and run, but also has some really questionable dialogue, some really weak storylines, some really bad dialogue at time, like I said. But again, overall, I thought last year was pretty solid. Some things that worked for me were obviously Negan. Last year's premiere was a rough one, but it was really, honestly one of the better episodes of Walking Dead. It really brought the emotional aspect to it, but we really just, one of the biggest things that came out of season 7 was the appearance of Negan, which I thought Jeffrey Dean Morgan knocked it out of the park. Literally with Lucille, but I thought Negan was a really good addition, and the character and the way he's playing it, I thought worked really well. Sometimes there were some moments where he was a little bit too comedic and too comic for me, but at the end of the day, that's Negan as far as what he's bringing to the table, and I like it. But there were some things that really didn't work for me, which was things like the Hilltop. I mean, it was some moments at the Hilltop, like dialogue moments and storyline moments that were just terrible for me as far as just the acting, the writing, the dialogue given at the Hilltop. It really didn't work for me, and that includes Maggie. She's one of my favorite characters, but I really thought that they really gave her some really weak moments throughout the Hilltop. I know she was going through, the loss of Glenn and having a baby on the way, but it was just really badly written, in my opinion, with the Hilltop, and also things like the Hillside or the Oceanside episodes. Thought that was terrible dialogue. I'm not a fan of Tara. I know her. I don't really know her purpose on the show anymore, like what she's fighting for, who she's fighting for. She lost a niece, she lost her sister, season 4. So I don't really know what we're getting out of Tara, but that didn't work for me. But with that being said, again, I thought there were more positives than negatives. But with that, let's just jump right into my thoughts on the most recent episode, which was last night. So season 8 premiere brought us what we have been promised, which is all out war. Kind of a basic summary last night. We saw the Hilltop, Alexandria, and King Ezekiel's the Kingdom. They're all together now. Rick and crew, Rick, Maggie, and Ezekiel, they are all cohesively working together, which is cool to see, which is one of my positives of last night's episode. We're not tiptoeing and kind of building those steps for them working together. I mean, we'll probably see some they're working together, but we'll probably see some bumps in the road from everyone getting on the same page. But from what we got last night, I thought it was pretty solid as far as their game plan. We saw that Daryl has been in contact with Dwight, which I'm really interested to see how that storyline and that plays out between the two, because Daryl said last year he doesn't matter if he helps him, or especially if he doesn't help him, he's gonna kill Dwight, which is a promise that I think we can take Daryl seriously on. But we see that Daryl has been getting recon or kind of information from Dwight as far as what to expect from Negan and where his outposts are. And then we see throughout the episode they're taking out Negan's crew to kind of set up their big I don't know how many steps they have in this process to take out Negan, but we see that they do have a process, which was a pretty good thing for me. Some of the negatives with Walking Dead is just kind of like, we know we have these strong characters and smart, intelligent characters, but they also sometimes make some really stupid decisions. So it was cool to see them kind of come together and make a really smart game plan, which seemed to work. We see that Negan was caught by surprise. He thought that bringing out Gregory might have been a twist to them, but everyone from Hilltop, and as a viewer, you knew that Gregory didn't have any weight. As far as the Hilltop, everyone knows that Maggie is the leader of the Hilltop now, which I thought was, kind of into the negatives. That whole kind of that during the midst of I guess of a shootout, or kind of the beginnings of a shootout, they had to make a point that Maggie is the leader of the Hilltop, which they had to kind of beat her over our heads. It's like, we as a viewer, let's not speak for myself, I knew since last year that Maggie was the leader of the Hilltop. I didn't think it was necessary to put that storyline or that dialogue out there, but anyway. It's another frustrating thing for me with last night's episode. Like I said, I thought it was a solid episode, but Father Gabriel, as I was mentioning some stuff that didn't work for me with last year and from seasons before that, it's Father Gabriel. I don't know what his purpose is on the show anymore. I know he has to be that moral compass to a certain degree and be that religious figure of the group, I guess you can say, but it's just like two stupid decisions by, number one, letting Gregory saving him. It's just like, why? And then number two, the show kind of leads off on the back half of the show. We see that Negan is now in this trailer with Father Gabriel, which I thought was a pretty funny line that Negan left us with. But it's just like, you got a assault rifle right on your shoulder. Why don't you just take out Negan then and there? But again, like I said, I'm a big fan of Walking Dead, but sometimes they kind of leave you with some questionable moments. I know they can't take out Negan episode 1, but it's just like, logically they could have just maybe had him drop the gun, maybe one of the walkers grab his gun off, but it's just like, you have a gun right then and there, just take him out. But anyway, I thought that didn't work for me. But besides that, I thought that we got some pretty good stuff with Rick. Rick, obviously now he has his head straight, he's ready to take out Negan. We even see one point that he was super close to taking out Negan, but Father Gabriel, who was the character of last night's episode, made some really silly decisions, but Gabriel prevented Rick from taking out Negan. But anyway, I thought that Rick had a pretty cool storyline where we see three different versions of him. We see Rick in the moment, we see Rick kind of in that old man Logan or old man Rick stage. We don't know where that's coming from, but hopefully they'll answer that for us later this season. And then we also see that I assume it's probably the aftermath, so maybe what's going to happen, maybe midway through the season, that Rick, he seemed to kind of be off. He was crying. He seemed to be a little dazed and confused. So we'll see where that plays out. But I thought it was kind of an interesting three different versions of Rick that we saw within the episode, as well as kind of my highlights. As usual, some of my favorite characters. We got Daryl and Carol being who they are, which is the badasses of the show. We see Daryl kind of doing his bike thing with getting all the walkers to kind of lead towards the sanctuary, towards the saviors. And then we also see Carol just finally getting into action. One of the frustrating things for me with Carol is she's such a strong character, but last year and seasons before that, it's just like the back and forth. She wants to be a part of the group, and then she doesn't want to be part of the group, and then she's kind of taking the Morgan approach, like, does she want to kill anymore, and does she want to kill for a loved one? So hopefully she's now just gun-ho and just ready to go to action. Also, I hope that is true with Morgan. They're both just on board to take care of what they have to and making sure that they get things taken care of and not going back and forth. So again, I thought that was a plus, seeing Daryl and Carol in action. And then overall, I thought some of the dialogue was really good. We got some comedic moments again from our beloved Negan and Rick. Kind of the exchange that they have on the balcony there was pretty funny and pretty good moment. But overall, I thought that it was a pretty solid episode, minus the things that Father Gabriel did. I thought it was a pretty strong season 1 premiere. I thought it could have been better. Last year we started off with a bang, a really emotional bang, but last night was pretty solid. I'm really looking forward to what's to come throughout the season 8. So with that being said, we'll kind of wrap up the video here, but I kind of have my predictions for what I hope for not just this season, but the seasons to come. Because if you guys follow, what Robert Kirkman has said and Scott Gimple, they really don't have an end game, which as a fan, I'm excited for that. They have more things to come, but at the same time, I'm a big fan. I'll just use, Game of Thrones, for example. They have a map and they're following that road. It's a little scary when you hear a show writer and the runner say that they don't really know where things are going to be headed, which could be a little bad because you might have unnecessary storylines or routes that they might take that might not be necessary. If they had a game plan, they can maybe be a little bit more tighter. But again, I just hope that we get back on board with I really honestly would like to see the cast slim down a lot. Like I said, I think there's some storylines that can be cut out of the show that can make the show feel a little bit more cohesive and a little more consistent. I also would expect for this season, and particularly in seasons ahead, that they get more more involved with the scary aspect of walkers not knowing where they are. One of the things I loved about the first couple seasons was you didn't know where the walkers were coming from. They were kind of in close quarters. They were in different areas that just kind of brought a scary element. Where now we're kind of going the action element or the action route, which I think they can find a good balance between that action, that horror aspect of the zombies. I really hope they bring that back, as well as just, and this is just for future seasons, I really hope that they, as a show, they maybe want to slim down the seasons to maybe 10 to 12 episodes versus the 16, because again, I think some of the storylines can be cut out completely and just make the season seem a little bit more cohesive. So with that being said, that's kind of my thoughts on last night's episode. But again, I love for you guys to be leaving comments. Let me know what you guys think and hope for for the rest of the season, as well as what you predict and kind of your theories for the rest of the season. So with that being said, go ahead and like this video and share the video for all those Walking Dead fans, as well as subscribe to our channel. Also, you guys want to check us out on Instagram, we are at Movie Files. So again, we'll be doing this every week. I'll be giving you my thoughts on the recent episodes, and hope to see you guys back with us tomorrow for American Horror fans. We'll be back giving you our review for that, and then next week we'll be back with the Walking Dead episode. So we'll see you guys soon.